the druggy doorbell scandal, the Beyoncé unconvincing public display of affection, the car crash BBC interview, and Meghan's Mother's Day tribute to herself. Perhaps after such a disastrous fortnight, it is not a surprise that YouGov now has Meghan's popularity. Look at this. The worst she has ever been with the British public. The only royal less popular than her is Prince Andrew, and it's not good for Harry either, who has slumped to his lowest popularity rating in 2 years. And there's only one woman who I have been dying to discuss these absolute shenanigans over the past few days, Lady Colin Campbell. Lady C, I mean, look, in some ways this poll is not a surprise, although you could argue it's quite a shock that she could become any more unpopular.
Oh, I don't know, Dan. I mean, I actually think that she will lose even more popularity. The astonishing thing is that she still has people who actually like her. But then I suppose, there is a certain percentage of the population is stupid or idiotic or brain dead or has no discrimination. But she keeps on declining in popularity and she doesn't get the message. Although, let's put it another way, it's quite possible she doesn't really care about what the British people think, number one. And number two, I think there's also the possibility that she actually feeds off her unpopularity here to create a victim narrative which she hopes will work in the United States of America. The fact, of course, of the matter is it's not working, as Saturday Night Live has just proven, and all of the adverse publicity that she gets in the United States proves. But I think her game plan really, if you stop to think of what she said recently, and she said it repeatedly before, she said, oh, I don't, it's, whether it's praise or condemnation, it's all the same to me. I find it all a matter of indifference, I'm so way above anybody having an opinion that would interfere with my vision of myself. I mean, the delusional arrogance. But I think that indicates that basically, on some level, she doesn't care whether it's positive or negative, particularly as long as she gets attention.
Prince Harry, the man who once demanded armed security in the UK, was just caught on a doorbell camera looking like a lost tourist, wandering from house to house asking for a friend. And Lady C isn't holding back. She says Harry looked like a ganja-loving lost soul, and honestly, she's not wrong. Why would Harry drop his security detail unless he was doing something he didn't want to be seen doing? And let's not forget, this is the same Harry who wants the world to believe he's under constant threat in the UK. But now he's out here wandering the streets alone, looking disoriented and shady? It's a PR disaster. And Meghan's desperate attempts to distract the public are making it even worse.
But Lady C, I mean, you mentioned Saturday Night Live. Surely that really matters to her because that is her former base. That is a left-wing show. That is a woke show. That is part of the NBC empire. And just before I get you to respond, here's a reminder of how cutting they were. For the first time, actually the first time they chose to take down Meghan Markle on Saturday night. And the laughs, Lady C, it's like even the woke-topians in the audience at Saturday Night Live in New York understand. I mean, that's probably the most cutting mainstream organization to turn on them since South Park.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you'll know, Dan, Saturday Night Live is huge in America. I mean, absolutely huge. It's actually even larger than South Park. I mean, it's like so important. But I think Meghan tells us that she doesn't care. And I think on some level, she really doesn't care. But I think that doesn't mean she wouldn't prefer good publicity over bad publicity. But I think I think her narcissism is such, and her lack of judgment is such, that since she can't rectify the situation and replace herself with a more acceptable and likable and amenable self, as long as she's getting publicity, that's what counts. I mean, my understanding is that, her selling point with Ted Sarandos and his selling point to those on the board who don't want her to have a continued affiliation with Netflix is that she and Harry are the most talked about and written about couple on earth. Well, to remain so written about, it can't be positive all the time. Negative publicity ultimately will get you more column inches than positive publicity, because you will know there is a level with fame, no matter how big you are, whether, say, you are like Queen Elizabeth II or a genuinely very famous and revered person, is not in the newspapers or on social media every single day of the week. They may be on every week, every 10 days, every 3 days, depending on the true news, but they're not on a daily basis. Well, Meghan makes sure she's on a daily basis. I think she's a fame junkie. I think she's addicted to the attention. And that means that it has to be negative. And I think that on some level, she cares, and on another level, she doesn't. Because let's remember, people who have disordered personalities are very conflicted, and they are very conflicting, and they're very contradictory. And that's what makes them disordered personalities. If they were healthy personalities, they would not be so conflicted. And equally, they wouldn't be so newsworthy on a perpetual basis. But Meghan actually not only she actually creates the news on a daily basis. And now that she's on Instagram again, I mean, she's really a fame whore.
Exactly. The whole thing reeks of desperation and a man who's clearly losing control. And then there's Meghan's Beyoncé concert stunt, which has to be the cringiest display of PDA we've seen from them yet. As Lady C points out, Meghan looked disgusted and repulsed by Harry's attempts to show affection, and Harry himself looked like a wax figure at Madame Tussauds, just going through the motions. The whole thing was staged for the cameras and everyone can see through it. Meghan's body language screamed, "Get me out of here," while Harry looked like he was begging for her attention. It's not just awkward, it's tragic.
Oh, yes. Yes, she is a fame whore indeed, Lady C. Now, what have you found out? What have you discovered of this Prince Harry doorbell picture? Arguably the most devastating tabloid picture for the royal family since Prince Andrew was caught in that News of the World sting with Jeffrey Epstein in the parks in Central Park in New York. Because, Lady C, sometimes it is a picture which tells 1,000 words. It tells 1,000 words about the state that he's in, the wired look on his face, but also the fact that it just blows up the argument that he's completely destroyed his relationship with his father over the fact that actually there is no security concern that's genuine in the United Kingdom.
No, the photograph shows very clearly, first of all, that he does not need security. If he needed security, he would not have stood down any security he had if he needed security. That's number one. Number two, why do you stand down your security? You only stand down your security if you are doing something that you should not be doing. If you're covering up for something, then you will stand down your security if you're going to be doing something you shouldn't. Now, let us remember, Harry has confirmed over the years in writing and orally that he is somebody who has availed himself of the weed, both in the United Kingdom and the United States, for much of his life. Well, weed is not legal in the United Kingdom. It may be legal in the United States, but ganja-loving Harry. I'm looking for a friend. I'm looking for a friend. Why is he going from house to house? And he's not asking for the name of a person. He's asking for a friend. I mean, I don't know what you think, but I find it very suspicious.
Well, it is. It is very suspicious on so many levels. And my theory, Lady C, is that the reason we got such a glut of publicity over the weekend is because Meghan Markle was trying to do this thing. It's a PR technique, and she believes that she is a PR mastermind and better than all of the staff who she bullies and then leaves, that she thought she would flood the zone over the weekend so that we would forget the picture. So that's why we got this incredibly disingenuous PDA. Do you know what that is, Lady C? A public display of affection at the Beyoncé concert.
Yeah.
And I mean, as the Royal Grift pointed out here, Lady C, I mean, she looks repulsed by him. Were you convinced at all?
Well, I'll tell you, as a Jamaican, and all Jamaicans can dance, irrespective of their colour, and in Jamaica, one of the things you see, man, them dance like them is white. I mean, she dances as if she's a white woman, and so raffinée, and I mean, she has absolutely no rhythm for somebody who claims to be 43% Nigerian. Where is her rhythm? I mean, she's supposed to have rhythm. And Harry looked as if he was a Madame Tussauds creature who was being sort of melting under the lights and therefore moving slightly. But I don't think, Dan, it's only because of that photograph. I think it's also because of the huge issues of African parks and Harry's position at African parks and the condemnation that African parks has been subjected to. And I think there's also the ongoing investigation into Centre Barley. And I think, and also there is the fact that there are people on the board at Netflix who do not want to have a continuing association with them. So I think with all of that going on, it's not only is she trying to put out fires, and I agree with you, she thinks she is a brilliant operative in terms of public relations, and she's never learned the first maxim of good PR is never be overexposed. Never. And she thinks overexposure would be if she's in the newspapers or on social media 8 times a week, 27 hours a day. Anything else is underexposure for her, which is actually fatal, because the point I made earlier is if you are in the news, you have to be in the news half the time for something bad. Otherwise, you're not going to be in the news constantly. Don't you agree?
Oh, totally.
Is this really the happy couple they want the world to believe they are? It's painfully obvious. The PR narrative is falling apart, and even their own body language can't hide it anymore. Lady C drops a bombshell here. She calls Meghan a fame junkie, someone who's addicted to being in the media, even if it's for negative reasons. According to Lady C, Meghan is so obsessed with staying relevant that she doesn't care whether the press is good or bad. as long as she's in the headlines. And that's why we're seeing this never-ending PR blitz, staged PDA moments, cringeworthy photo ops, and now, a Mother's Day tribute to herself instead of to her own mother, Doria Ragland.
Totally agree. And I know that she's lying when she says she doesn't look at the coverage. She claims she only looks at 1% of the coverage. That's rubbish. She's across it all the time. And her actions are dictated by what is being said in the mainstream media, on social media, on shows like this. She's completely obsessed with it. Lady C, I've got to ask you too about this very odd cosplaying of Catherine, the Princess of Wales, that continues. So we saw it in a few different examples over the weekend. So, well, this one was of Princess Diana, actually. Meghan's mole posted, the cosplay continues. I know the Sussex squids want to claim Meghan sold the dress out, but this Carolyn Herrera dress was a fall winter 2022 release. So very, very obvious that she's trying to wear yet another dress that was made famous by Princess Diana. Odd. Then we also see Lady C, the hat, which Meghan chose to wear. Harry's hat is very similar to Catherine on the cover of Vogue. And perhaps most damning was the fact that when Catherine was presented with this beautiful rose, which is going to raise money for cancer, it's a charitable cause, it's been named in her honor, really beautiful thing. Within hours, Meghan has to come out with her own, as ever, rose collection. And people actually predicted, she's so predictable in her cosplay now, Lady C. People actually knew this was coming.
Yes, well, that's a sign of a personality disorder as well, I have to tell you. Because I'm sure you know, Dan, I wrote a book called Daughter of Narcissus, about my mother's narcissism. And I had to end up studying the subject to write the book properly. And what my father's niece always used to say about Mummy, she used to say, Gloria is so predictable. And Meghan is so predictable. They think they're unpredictable, but they are very predictable, people like that, because they function within a narrower band of perception than you and I would function in, but they function in a far wider range of possibilities with no boundaries and no limits. So where you or I would say, no, we won't do that because it's not right, or we won't do that because even though it's possibly right, it will impact adversely upon us or upon others. They don't think like that. They have no boundaries and no scruples in ethical terms. But in terms of, they're like a sculptor who avails himself of clay from a particular source, and it becomes very predictable that the clay is the same clay, no matter what shape it has. It's the same clay, and there's a sameness as well, because these people don't usually have ideas, and they're not usually connected with the huge picture of life. They are usually connected with their desires and their objectives. And this limits them, and it limits their possibilities for action. So that's
and didn't we get another example of that, Lady C, with the Mother's Day post? Because she's paying tribute to herself, but not mentioning her own mother, Doria.
It's all about keeping her name in the news, even if it means dragging Harry down with her. Lady C is spot on. Meghan is overexposing herself, and the public is getting tired of it. And here's where things get creepy and bizarre. Meghan's copycat obsession is back, and it's getting more obvious by the day.
Now, it's not a situation like with you, where you had lots of reasons to have issues with your mum. By all accounts, Doria was obviously invisible when she was a teenager, but in recent years, she's been the only member of the family who she wants to praise. Do you think this was about Meghan's narcissism, or is there some type of split developing with Doria? Because Doria seems incredibly unhappy the last few times that we've seen her used in Meghan's PR campaigns.
Well, I don't really have sufficient information that I would rely upon to comment in any authoritative way on the relationship between Meghan and Doria at the moment. But what I would say is that Meghan's post did not surprise me, because Meghan's Mother's Day post wasn't about her mother, it was about her as a mother. And she always has to reiterate how wonderful a person she is. And she's a wonderful mother as well. So Meghan is a great boaster. I mean, she's always boasting about how wonderful she is. And, oh, that man, he just loves me so much. And those children, they want to climb the Mama Mountain because they just can't do without me. I mean, I'm just so fabulous. And they love me so much. And then she flips it, and to be able to say how much they love her, she says that she loves them as much as they love her. And so that way she gets it. She is so totally self-obsessed. It's all about her. And she will not share any space. Have you not noticed, even when she and Doria were in Britain together, if Doria ever opened up her mouth and spoke, Meghan would glower at her like, how dare you speak? And, with Meghan, it's got to be all about her. And I understand from people who know her and Harry very well that she dominates all proceedings. It's all about what she was. And she has him as a wind-up toy. And she uses him to really ratify how wonderful she is. And so I'm not surprised that she neglected it. I think it didn't even occur to her that a daughter who's supposed to get on with her mother would actually give a good Mother's Day message. It didn't occur to her. What occurred to her was...
Because she's just thinking of herself.
No, she's totally self-obsessed.
Did you even believe this picture, though? Because look at Archie's toe, which looks to be deformed. Now, I don't believe it's deformed necessarily in real life. It seems to point to the idea, Lady C, that these are not genuine pictures that she's releasing. They're either pictures that have been taken a very long time ago, that have been manipulated because the children's hair color keeps changing, their heights keep changing. What do you make of what is going on with this very odd social media activity?
Dan Wooten exposes how Meghan's recent Carolina Herrera dress is nearly identical to one Princess Diana wore years ago, while the hat she chose for the Beyoncé concert eerily resembles the one Kate wore on the cover of Vogue. And the icing on the cake? Meghan drops a new rose collection just hours after Kate is honored with a rose named after her. It's not just a coincidence. It's a calculated attempt to mimic and overshadow Kate, and people are catching on. Meghan's trying to rewrite history, but all she's doing is making herself look desperate and unoriginal.
I learned a long time ago, Dan, when you are dealing with narcissists, they have an egg beater in your brain, and it does not behoove you to try to figure out too closely. Just go with the flow. Because also Meghan has us talking, and this is what Meghan wants. And also, this is what she has convinced Ted Sarandos is a selling point to Netflix to renew her contract, albeit at a much reduced rate. That she has everybody talking about her. And to an extent, either she is the most incompetent and doesn't care, or about her inconsistencies, which is a possibility, or she knows there are inconsistencies and she thinks, oh, well, let's go with that because it will get everybody talking. You know, Diana used to say, and remember, Meghan's rule book is to do what Diana did. And Diana used to say, you've got to confuse the enemy. So, you know, you've got to be heading north, south, east, and west all at the same time. So the enemy doesn't know what you're really about. And I mean, those photographs with the children are very odd. One day Lily has absolutely red hair, and the next day she doesn't. It's very odd. The whole thing is odd. But I think I'm not sure that she doesn't do some of this deliberately, or then she's wildly incompetent, but doesn't care as long as she's getting attention. And as far as she's concerned, she's made her point, then she's on to the next thing. I mean, the thing people don't understand about narcissists is they've stated as a fact something that's a fiction, and we are then arguing about the validity of the fiction and to what extent it's a fact, while they're actually about to drop another lie bomb, because it's not a truth bomb, it's a lie bomb, about with yet another manipulation. It's constant manipulation.
Constant.
What do you think?
It is. I totally agree. And I was actually watching your video earlier today about the Beckham situation. And I found that very interesting, because you're talking about the fact, Lady C, that there are comparisons between what Meghan Markle has done to Harry's family, the royal family, and what Nicola Peltz has done, that's Brooklyn Beckham's wife, to the Beckham family. And I found your theory very interesting, Lady C. And of course, it's added to the fact that yesterday, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, sends a message to the world, and she does it obviously in a careful way and a classy way. But I think what she was saying by wearing that Victoria Beckham suit was, number one, I support the Beckhams. You know, I support the Beckhams given what they're going through with their family being torn apart. And by the way, can't I pull off a suit a heck of a lot better than Ms. Markle at the Time 100 event? But tell me what's really going on here, Lady C.
Exactly. It's not just embarrassing, it's borderline creepy how desperate she is to be seen as the next Diana or Kate. Lady C delivers a final warning. Harry and Meghan are on a downward spiral, and if they don't dial back the PR stunts, they risk becoming irrelevant and even mocked. We're already seeing it with the Saturday Night Live sketch, which openly mocked Meghan and Harry. And that was from a typically pro-Meghan outlet. If even SNL is turning on them, what's next? Are Harry and Meghan losing control of the narrative, or are they just digging a deeper hole? Stay tuned, because this royal train wreck is far from over. Alright, that's the explosive breakdown of Harry's ganja doorbell disaster and Meghan's cringe-worthy PDA at the Beyoncé concert. If you think Meghan is using Harry's meltdown for sympathy, hit that like button, subscribe for more no BS royal drama, and drop a comment below. Is Meghan manipulating Harry to push her PR narrative, or is Harry just losing it on his own? Let me know what you think.